Hello and welcome. Our top story today is from Uganda. Elections are over, but President Museveni's reported crackdown on opposition is still ongoing. His arch-rival Bobi Wine has yet again claimed that the military raided his home and harassed his wife. Wine is currently in hiding, but he is actively posting on X to engage with his supporters. According to Wine, hundreds of soldiers broke into his home on Saturday, held his wife Barbara at gunpoint, asked her about his whereabouts. He also said his home was vandalised and valuable items were taken away. Wine shared photos of the alleged raid on X. He said that his wife was still recovering from the physical and psychological trauma of the raid. She has been hospitalised in Kampala. Wine's wife gave details of the alleged raid from her hospital bed.
Yesterday, the group that came to raid our home was a different group. They were so many, heavily armed, drunk, and they looked the same. So when he came back, he went in the same position where he was. He lifted me by the trousers. I was wearing nighty trousers and a shirt. He lifted me by the trousers, lifted me up, and then the one who was standing in front of me strangled me by the neck from the front.
Well, Bobi Wine's wife blamed the raid on the Ugandan Army Chief, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is also President Museveni's son.
General Muhoozi has given my husband an ultimatum of 48 hours, sometime 3 days ago now. Okay, it's past 48 hours. And he told him to come out of the latrine if that's where he was hiding. Then he said, I am looking for you. And when I find you, I'll treat you the way they treat, was it rebels? Was it something? Outlaws, yes, outlaws. So if someone threatens you to that extent, and they are in an office of power, and they're in control of the army and all the army outfit, how could you say they are not the one that sent those people?
Wine called Museveni's son a criminal, but Kainerugaba has denied these allegations. He said his men did not harass Barbara and they were just looking for Wine. Previously, the Ugandan army chief had issued a death threat to Wine on X. He said that he would be hunted and killed. But that post has since been deleted. Last week, Kainerugaba boasted on X about killing 30 of Wine's supporters and arresting over 2,000 others. Wine's party, the National Unity Platform, has said that it was facing a tough time.
Our leaders are being raided, arrested. We cannot tell who's going to be next. These things are going on everywhere. You wake up and you hear now someone has been raided. Our comrades are being abducted day and night.
Well, Wine has been in hiding since Museveni's re-election for a 7th term. The election was marred by controversy. An internet blackout was imposed and the opposition was barely visible in the polls. Museveni has a strong grip over Uganda and his rule seems endless. He has scrapped the term and age limits. The opposition has either been sidelined or silenced, and his son, Kainerugaba, looks set to succeed him. The European Union and the United Nations have also raised concerns over the pre- and post-poll violence, detentions and killings in Uganda. Well, joining us to further break this down is Dr. Ambrose Igboke, an international affairs analyst joining us live from Enugu, Nigeria. Ambrose, welcome to First Post Africa.
Thank you, Joshua, and congratulations on your brand new studio. It looks very beautiful.
Thank you very much. Let's first take a look at what this alleged raid says about democracy in Uganda. Is there any space for opposition parties and opposition politicians under a Museveni regime?
Uganda's case has been particularly peculiar. Since their independence, they have not been very lucky with smooth transitions. We remember the days of Idi Amin Dada, and we remember how Uganda was then. It was not fully a democratic entity. Museveni has refused to give up power for many years, perpetuating himself as almost a life president, to changing the constitutions, manipulating the electoral process just to remain in power. This is typical of many of African countries. We take example of Cameroon, Paul Biya. We take example of Zaire in the days of Mobutu Sese Seko. We take the days of Zimbabwe during the days of Robert Mugabe. The list is endless for African countries that presidents perpetuate themselves. The days of Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. The list is endless. And it speaks very poorly of democratic rule in Africa, where a lot of people have started arguing that aside from the military coups that take place in Africa, that this trend can be likened to a civilian coup, where the will of the people is being truncated for people who steal power through not the bullets of guns and barrels of weapons, but through manipulating the electoral process against the wishes of the people. It's a sad development in Uganda. Our thoughts that Museveni would have stepped aside for a clean electoral process to take place. But unfortunately, what we saw this January in the election was not it.
And Ambrose, looking at allegations of this raid, how do you think Ugandans may react? Could there be further protests from opposition supporters, or could it lead potentially to further crackdowns?
What has happened in Africa across board is there seems to be a very high level of docility among African electorates because Africans usually think that, oh, this person is from my ethnic group, this person is from my religion, this person is from my political bloc, and they allow the dramatist personnel in the politics to misbehave without holding them accountable. What happens is that once the first time the constitution was being tweaked or manipulated to get tenure extension, the person becomes emboldened, and they do it the second time, the third time, the fourth time. So Africans don't react. That is the greatest tragedy. So in Cameroon, the same thing we are seeing. Guinea, different country, Tunisia. So a lot of it is good that Uganda opposition has started demonstrating. This is a good sign. But the problem with Africans generally is that they think that freedom can be handed over a la carte, that freedom can be handed over as a gift. There's nowhere in the world where freedom is handed over as a gift. Europe shed blood, fought many wars, people were killed to ascertain the level in the United States of America and every other part of the world that is enjoying democracy today. In France, we remember the French Revolution of 1739, and that was what gave them the kind of democracy they are running today. But Africans are not ready generally. Everywhere in Africa, most places, they are so subservient to their leaders. They swallow anything from the leaders, and they don't want to fight back. And that is the problem in Africa. And that is why African leaders, be it military or civilians, continue to perpetuate themselves in power and take the people for granted.
And to finish, I want to look at President Yoweri Museveni's son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Of course, he has made threats to kill Bobi Wine. He's boasted on social media about killing Bobi Wine's supporters. If, like experts suggest, he takes over from his father, what could his regime look like?
It will be brutal because when somebody who is controlling levels of power, only the government has the legal. You are controlling the army, you are controlling the military, and then you are threatening a fellow citizen that you're going to kill him just because you have opposing political views or because he's legitimately contesting for election, which is his constitutional right, and you're threatening to kill him. The international community should come to the aid of Bobi Wine to see how they can move him and his family out of Uganda. Because if the attack on his wife led to the death of the wife, nothing would have happened. The same thing with him. So it is time for the international community to come to his assistance because it's not safe there. His family is not also safe. And to see if they can extradite him out and then maybe offer him political asylum somewhere while he fights back. This kind of thing has happened in Nigeria in 1993, 94, where the winner of the election, MKO Abiola, was hunted down and he had to leave the country. Unfortunately, when he returned to claim his mandate, he was killed. So these are recurrent factors in African political, architecture. And the sooner that we stop it, the better for the African continent, because these kind of actions have led to the, lack of development in the continent.
Ambrose, as always, a pleasure. Thank you ever so much for joining us on First Post Africa.
Thank you for having me.